if you go from golf to whiskey tasting,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a lot of people do while they're watching golf. Chris Houston from DK Canada, our new best friend, is back again. And Chris, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Happy Monday morning.
See, you're pleasant already, and it's early on a Monday. That's not easy to do.
We're starting Monday with whiskey. I mean, let the celebrations begin.
Yeah, no kidding. And not only is it a great looking book, but the one thing about when you hear about a whiskey book, because look, there's been a lot of them, and for those that love whiskey, they're like, okay, so who's writing this one? Is it there's the very famous guys who every year, like Whiskey Jim Murray, for instance, always puts out a whiskey book around the world. This is from Eddie Ludlow. Am I pronouncing that correctly?
You got it.
Yeah, he's got Whiskey, a Tasting Course, a new way to think and drink whiskey, because whiskeys are now being made all over the world, not just necessarily the Scotch from obviously Scotland, but Japanese whiskey and Scotch is really taken off in a way that I probably wouldn't have thought was natural from Japan. I'm thinking sake, but for those connoisseurs of whiskey, Japan's huge, big for this.
It's surprising where this is done now. It really is. There was for literally hundreds of years, it was one or two places, and now it's everywhere. And I don't know about you guys. I have terrible taste in whiskey. And what I love about this book is it lets you try different kinds and kind of walks you through the process, because 12 a.m. At the bar is not the great time to try new and diverse flavors. It's just let's just keep it going,
or pick a new girlfriend. This is what I also find out.
There you go. If it starts in a bar, it ends in a bar. So the book is let's for Dad. Let's help Dad out. Let's make it easy for him to make the smart choices.
Oh, and you know what? This is like a great Father's Day gift. I'm just curious, when you say you have terrible taste in whiskey, like what are you drinking? Like Fred's Rye, or are you not going high to top shelf on this one?
The basics. I had no idea how much variety there was. You visit with your friends. You're possibly new to drinking. They say, "Would you like whiskey?" You say yes, and it sets you on a path. It's great to stop and maybe try out some stuff. Try these different countries that are making things. And actually, a lot of wine tastings are a very popular thing. I mean, whiskey tastings, there's such richness, such flavor. And as you said, so many great places around the world are making this stuff. It's honestly hard to keep up without a guide. So Mr. Ludlow, he takes us on a trip with that book.
Chris Houston joins us here from DK Canada on social media right now, on Twitter, at DK Canada, and we've also tweeted out on Mike and I's Twitter accounts your opportunity to win the Birds of Canada and the Whiskey Tasting Course book that we are talking about. So tweet us now, tweet us often, and tell us why you should win, and we'll pick out a lucky winner a little bit later on in the day. Chris, as far as the Birds of Canada, we've actually had some comments on it. Is this, right now it's number 2 on your top 10 at DK Canada Father's Day book. Is this bigger than I thought it was, as far as figuring out what bird is in your front yard or backyard or at your lakefront property?
It's become quite a thing. This book is actually our top seller overall over the last couple months. It just came out about a month ago. This is a brand new edition of the Pocket Birds book. As described, it does actually fit into your pocket. We took great pains, to deliver on the promise. It has Canada, again, a bit like the whiskey thing. Who knew we had over 400 kinds of birds in Canada? And I wanted to put a big sticker on the front cover of the book. Includes new birds. I mean, there are birds now coming up from the United States, particularly if you're in the southern parts of Canada, that we've never seen up here before. So there's nothing greater than staying at home, being in the backyard. You're not going perhaps on that European cruise that you'd planned on, but a bird flies by and you're like, hey, what is that? And if you're a dad, it's incumbent on you to explain it to your kids. You know,
So true.
you want the right information.
Yeah. See, this is where I really, this is where I fail. I say things like, someone will say, "Hey, it's a yellow-breasted cockle-fit," and I'll say something like, "I bet you I could eat that." See, this is once again, as I'm sipping on my single malt, single still whiskey, pot whiskey from Ireland, saying things like this and dots, and the bird thing. So, Facebook, right? Facebook's a little older skewed now, right? It's the youngins not really big into Facebook. But what I find strange is people that I've known for years and grown up with, all of a sudden there'll be this post on, I saw a webbed foot, hammerhead. And I'm like, what? Oh, you're watching birds now? It becomes a thing. And as you said, this is a huge selling book. So someone's doing it.
Absolutely. We maybe the first couple weeks of stay home, you could stick to your regular conversation topics on social media, but you need something new, you need something exciting, and it lands in your backyard. I used to simply go with I just go with the color. It's a red bird, it's a blue bird. And our editor who worked on the book here in Canada, I'd post a picture to our inter-office mail, and she'd go, "You're correct, Christopher. It is a red bird. But did you know there are apparently more than one kind of red bird?"
What?
Wow. Yeah. Wait, are you kidding me?
I kid you not. So we've got them all. I'm happy to say we've got them all in the book. It's real easy. So the whiskey and the birding, it can now be a complementary activity. You needn't research yourself extensively. Just keep the book handy there next to your bar cart. You'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, Chris, a number of war-themed books. I know there's one for everybody that's going to be watching this a little bit later on over your left shoulder, World War II, map by map. There's also a couple other ones that I was looking at earlier this weekend. What exactly is the fascination about the World War II maps? Also, there's a book on the Iraqi War as well. I guess, is this more of the behind the scenes or strategies, or just kind of how everything was laid out in perspective?
Well, it's pretty interesting to see how these things unfold over time, as we know, things take on sort of a more interesting significance if you get to see how they occur. And we all know World War II, we studied it in school. It's constantly sort of there in the back of the mind. But to actually see it unfold over the course of 100 maps in order, that's the DK way. Step by step, map by map, we take you through, 5 or 6 years of this terrible conflict. But seeing it in a map form really helps you understand. There's a lot of geography involved, not my strongest subject, but we've made the maps really attractive. This is where the DK books go ahead of my standard high school textbook. They're great looking maps. They've got photos that go with it. So I think that there's always been a fascination with history. I know for my own dad, for years, giving him a book has been a Father's Day tradition since I was a kid. I've once seen him have a 3-hour conversation about an afternoon in the Second World War, that fascinates him. Throwing a map in there just makes it all the better.
Well, and there's such a fascination with World War II. There are World War II buffs. I mean, almost on every level of anything you can think of. But the maps is kind of new. It's interesting, for a lot of people. So when they went and saw the movie Dunkirk, what was that, a couple of years ago? You could hear some of the younger people who and look, when I went and saw it, there wasn't a lot of young people in there. They're like, so you mean that England is that close to France? Yeah, it hasn't moved. It's very close, and especially there, which is why you saw how they jumped into fishing boats or pleasure vehicles, pleasure boats, if you want to call it that, to go over and evacuate their guys from France. Like, the story is it's incredible, and it's unbelievably daring, and it is very much what England was a part of during that time in World War II. I mean, these stories are remarkable in the fact that it reflects a people that would do anything for somebody else. Like that's the takeaway. And the fact that you're going to see this on maps, including I see D-Days in there, Pearl Harbor, Stalingrad. I mean, these are remarkable world events that I think if your dad is interested, like, and most guys are of a certain age on looking at things World War II, I've just never seen it map by map. It's a brilliant idea.
Thanks very much. It's true. You know, one of the things they didn't really teach us in history is the proximity of countries. You know, if Mississauga suddenly got jealous of, say, Oakville and decided to you know, Oakville has more hot tubs or something, you know, you can kind of understand things in a different way because of the proximity. But from where we sit, 70 years later, it is different. It's very different. So
Yeah.
it's great to have the visual. I'm a visual learner. These books are great for that.
Chris, I think you got yourself another book there. The Oakville, Mississauga thing. I think you got yourself another one.
The hot tub conundrum, or whatever they would call it. And by the way, Oakville would have more hot tubs. Just so you know, they definitely would have more pools. That I can say. I know they're big pool people.
Oh man.
Our next book. Thank you, guys.
Before we go, Chris, a lot of bookstores are starting to open slowly. Some are still closed down. For everybody listening today, what's the best way of getting one of these books into your home? What would you advise our listenership to do if they are interested? Because the library is extensive. You can get lost on the DK website just because you go from one place to another, and then it's like, oh, I like this, and all of a sudden it's 45 minutes later. So how would you advise the public right now?
Well, you know, we've been inspired over the past couple of months about how our independent booksellers have managed to run their businesses. They're doing curbside pickup. They're making it work for their customers, whether it's a VIP, one customer at a time experience or whatnot. That's a great way to shop. Of course, everything's available online at indigo.ca. Amazon.ca is another good spot. You know, the DK.com website has avenues to get to all those places. So basically, wherever books are sold. So and Dad will appreciate your efforts.
You know, I think Dad's going to get that Sicilian cookbook. That's what I think. That's what Dad's getting. Wow, that's just remarkable. They're such beautiful books too. I mean, that's the one thing that I think, you know, when you get into this era of, was it Kindle or, you know, things that you can see on computers, I'm like, yeah, but it's not this, you know, that tactile, just, you know, hearing what it sounds like when you open up that book. Because, you know, the hardcover, it's just smells good. There's everything about it. It just, books hopefully will always be in our lives. And may I say, Chris, who is our new best friend, I cannot wait till I stay over at your house.
We're waiting for you.
And boy, do I like bacon, French toast, mimosas, once again with the drinking, and maybe we can look at some birds.
You're welcome anytime. You are clearly a morning man.
Yeah. And here's Kung Fu Zombie Steve on Twitter saying F Oakville. See, already you can see that the war is on. The war is on.
All it needed was just a little tap, right?
That's it, yeah.
As it always does. Or, you know, someone shooting somebody else. That's also a part of it. But, hey, Chris, thanks so much. Always a pleasure for joining us. And we will give away some beautiful books from DK Canada. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, David.
Take care.